What gets measured gets managed. If you played sports, let's say you were going to play a football game and nobody kept score, how would you know who's winning and losing? How much fun would it be?
People say, I want to make $1 billion. Okay, you want to make $1 billion. It's great to have aspiration, but do you really want that life that comes with making $1 billion?
More people spend time planning their 1-week trip to Mexico every year than they do their business or their life. Most people don't stop to take time to get that big picture of what they want and then fail to reverse engineer how to get it.
Without coaches and mentors, we really don't have that level of accountability and also vision for what's possible. And even the same with exercise. If you really want to get exercise happening, hire a personal trainer. It's not that hard.
Welcome to Coaching by the Beach, where we help you materialize the vision you have for your business, your life, your family, and the world. I'm Trevor McGregor, Master Coach.
And I'm Leesa McGregor, international best-selling author, speaker, and entrepreneur. Together, we've built an 8-figure empire, and we've broken free from the ordinary to lead lives of extraordinary freedom, impact, and fulfillment. And now we're here to guide you to do the same.
If you've been searching for more success, more wealth, and more freedom, tune in and let's embark on this journey together. Hey everybody, it's Coach Trevor McGregor and welcome back to yet another episode of Coaching by the Beach. We're here in our beautiful Rainforest Retreat Center and I'm here with my beautiful wife, Leesa. Leesa, how are you today?
I am wonderful.
Well, that's great to hear. And boy, have we got a show for you because today we're going to talk about the 7 reasons why people fail to achieve their goals. I'll say it again, the 7 reasons why people fail to achieve their goals or achieve their outcomes or achieve their dreams. And I know that this is sensitive, especially right now as the world's a crazy place. We got so much going on, but it doesn't have to be that way because I'm here to tell you that where focus goes, energy flows. And we're going to talk even more about this. But Leesa, why is this such an important topic for you?
I think it's important because I feel like so many people set out to have a dream and then they feel deflated when they don't achieve what it is that they're looking to achieve. And I think goal setting is a sensitive topic. Some of us don't achieve our goals and then we become discouraged. And the reality is, it's persistence. We're going to be talking about this today. What does it really take to stay on course? What does it take to not give up? What does it take to have the faith and to continue on the path that you're on, to really respect the dreams and the visions that you have for your life, for your business, for your family, and for the world? And so this is a really important conversation, and it's not going to be your traditional goal setting and goal achievement conversation. I mean, honey, you've worked with thousands of people. You've done thousands of hours of coaching. And if there's anything you know better than anything in the world, it is about goal setting. It's about really going for your dreams and achieving that vision.
And again, it doesn't matter if it's a personal goal, a professional goal, a money goal. Maybe there's something you want in your health or your relationship. You've really got to think about, what is it that's preventing me from hitting my outcomes or even making progress towards my outcomes? Because I think a lot of people have that microwave thinking where they want what they want instantly. It's almost like they've got an idea or they've got a thought or they've got a goal and they set out to achieve it. And when it doesn't happen instantly, they either get tired, they get bored, they quit on their goal. And that's pretty rampant in America right now. And it's pretty rampant around the world. So the number one thing is you've got to go back to what do you really, really, really want and why do you want it? Because if you just think about your goal in terms of what it is that you want, that's okay. But there's no rocket fuel or juice if you don't have a big, fat, compelling reason why you want it. So we're going to get into the 7 steps in a minute. But before we do, tell me a little bit about, I know you've been working with a lot of our clients and a lot of couples that we coach and do retreats with. And I know you've been really diving into the purpose of why those goals are important to them in their career, their finances, their health, their relationships, all of that. How deep do you take our clients?
Well, I think it's really about getting in tune with yourself, like really knowing who you are, what you're about, being true to yourself. I think sometimes, I know for myself, personal experience, I used to set goals that when I look back, I go, that wasn't even a goal that I wanted. That was something that society was telling me that I should be looking to achieve,
Right.
And I think a lot of entrepreneurs, we kind of fall in that trap, right? I know, we've had this conversation before. People say, I want to make $1 billion. Okay, you want to make $1 billion. It's great to have aspiration. But do you really want that life? Do you want that life that comes with making $1 billion? You might not, and I think it's really about being true to yourself. I think that's the first place, is to really examine. If you look back at the goals that you've set in the past, were those goals true to you? Were they true to the life that you really wanted? Were they true to your values? Were they in alignment with your true vision? So I think that's really, really important. What would you say to that?
Well, I love that. And I think it's all about being authentic and, really realizing, where are you today? Where do you want to go? And there's a great concept called the gap and the gain, where a lot of people are focused on the gap of where they are and to where they want to be. But you also have to think about, how far have you come? Where is it that you've actually moved the needle? Where is it that you've made progress? So again, remember, this is all pre-planning, because again, once you get some idea of where you want to go, then the path of least resistance kicks in, or one of these 7 things are going to happen to you. But I think you're spot on with that. You've really got to be true. You got to be authentic. You got to believe. And maybe today's a different time than, where you were in life a year ago or 5 years ago. So we want to bring you into the present, right? Because it's in the present that we're able to create what we call the predictable future. So with all of that, are you ready to roll up your sleeves and get into these 7 things? Because I really want the listener to think about not just, what are all 7 things, where do they struggle the most? What's the biggest challenge or struggle you're having based on where you're finding yourself in each of these 7 steps? You ready to rock and roll?
We're ready.
All right. The very first thing that prevents people from achieving their goals is their mindset. That's right. It's their mindset. We all have this 3-pound mass between our ears called our brain, and our brains are responsible for keeping us safe and keeping us alive. But the brain is also a magical thing that can allow us to dream and think and create. And I know that you've been using your beautiful brain to dream and think and create in epic proportions lately. But again, most people have limiting beliefs. They have doubts, they have fears, they have anxiety. They don't believe they're smart enough. They don't believe they're educated enough. They don't believe they have the time or the money. And really, when you think about all of those things, they stack them, and that compounds, and it really prevents them from getting rid of the limiting belief or the doubt or the fear or the worry or anxiety. And we'll talk about that further on in the episode. But Leesa, how important is to get that first piece right, that the mind is really preventing most people from having what they want?
Your mindset is everything. And the reality is, we live in an epidemic of distraction. We live in an epidemic of distraction where people can't even spend 5 seconds to focus anymore. I mean, it's just crazy. And that's what we're really up against. If I think about the number one thing that is preventing us from having the life that we want, it is living in a world of distraction. And so if you really want to achieve those big goals, you've got to find a way to handle the distractions. You've got to find a way to manage what's coming at you 24/7. We've never had this level of information and distraction in our entire lives. I mean, and so that's the thing. I think that mindset, you've got to keep cultivating your mindset. And, one of the things that Trevor and I have said for years now, I mean, we've been in this space. We've been in the personal development and growth space for 20 years. And the truth is, it never stops. You've got to continue cultivating your mind. You've got to nurture your mind. It's like a garden. You've got to tend to the garden of your mind. And if you really want to achieve those big goals, that's what it takes.
So I love that, Leesa. And it's really about, most people are being distracted with their iPhones or their Androids, because we carry these little things in our pockets 24/7, and we've got access to what's going on in the economy, what's going on in politics, what's going on with this extreme weather somewhere in the world, or what's going on overseas. And ultimately, Tony Robbins says that where focus goes, energy flows. And so our mindset gets sucked in, instead of, you seeing the world as it is, but not worse than it is, but standing strong in your mindset, in your belief, and your value that, what, regardless of what's going on out there, you've got to control what you can control. How would you speak to that?
Absolutely. What comes to mind with that actually is, I think the best thing we can do is not just fasting for our bodies, but fasting for our minds. Give yourself a media fast, give yourself a social media fast, give yourself a news media fast. Like, just tune out of what is happening and tune into yourself. When you're tuned into yourself, that's where you get your clarity. That's where you get your inspiration, your vision. And I think that is the most important thing. If we really want to have a strong mindset, it has to come from inside of ourselves. We cannot be deterred by outside forces. And that is really the key point, I think, in terms of goal setting. You've got to be focused.
I love it. So that takes us to the second reason why people fail to achieve their goals, and that is a lack of a strategic plan. I mean, Leesa, more people spend time planning their 1-week trip to Mexico every year than they do their business or their life. And we're talking about getting back to the fact that, what a goal needs to be a vision. And a vision needs to be something that's greater than yourself, right? And we're maybe talking about what you want to achieve over the next year or the next 3 or 5 years or even 10 years, or what we call your vision for your business and your life. And again, most people don't stop to take time to get that big picture of what they want and then fail to reverse engineer how to get it. So how do you speak to that one, knowing that this is absolutely universal?
It's true. I mean, the old saying, it's like if you don't have a plan, you plan to fail. And for me, I really say that it's not just about a strategic plan. It's about having a greater plan. And I think that we need to spend more time on planning our lives, designing our lives, I mean, a game changer for us was just taking that time out on the weekends. Typically you're busy, right? You're taking care of the house, you're taking the kids places, you're doing all these things. But what about really tuning in and tending to your life design, And so we spend time now, couple of hours on the weekends just talking about life design. What do we want to do? What's the plan? What's the plan for next year? And I think it's really important that we have something to look forward to. I think sometimes goals can be a little bit dry and boring.
Yep.
You want to achieve financial goals. Well, why? Why do you want to achieve the financial goals? What is it behind that? Like that amount of money that you want to make, like what are you going to do? What is the purpose of that financial goal? What is the purpose behind the money that you're after? And I think it's important to spend that time creating a plan. And, the best time to create a plan is actually on the backs of executing a previous plan. I know for ourselves, I mean, we just came back from 6 weeks in Europe. We had the most amazing time. And on the trip home, we were talking about what's the plan for the next trip, like where are we going next? What is the plan for 2025? And we started to put some placeholders in. And it's exciting because it really inspires you to keep going. When you have a plan, you've got direction, you've got inspiration, you've really got a compass that's helping to guide you. And so I think that's really, really important.
I love it. No, that's so good. And that takes us to point number 3, which is once you clear your mindset and once you set that goal, the third reason why people fail to scale or achieve their outcomes is lack of systems for support. There we go. Because I'm telling you, you can get rid of limiting beliefs and you can write things down. But if you don't have a system to go out there and make it happen, you're fooling yourself. And that is, what do you need to do in the next 30, 60 days? Who can help you? How can you leverage other people, or how can you leverage technology? I know that you've been using ChatGPT quite a bit recently, or some AI tools. And again, we're not experts there yet, but we're introducing ourselves to more and more and more of how can we take all of our goals and literally have these things chunked down into bite-sized pieces.
That is so good. And I'll tell you, systems, that is a big piece, because you need systems for everything, I think. I mean, systems for living. You need a system for how you run your house, a system for how you run your business, right? You need systems and standard operating procedures for your staff. I think the reality is that the more you implement systems and ways to operate that are consistent and repeatable, and they don't make you have to think about it over and over again, I think that's where we get closer to, getting to our outcomes. For myself, I've got house systems. I was chatting with one of my other entrepreneurial friends, and we were talking about how we just don't really go to the grocery store anymore. We do most of our grocery shopping online. I only like to shop when I'm going to markets. If I'm getting fresh food,
Yep.
The rest of my stuff is completely streamlined. I purchase things online. And I just want a system for everything. So it makes life easier. It gives you more headspace to be focused on your goals, to be focused on what you're doing. And then, of course, team delegation, making sure that you got the right people on your team that can take care and handle the things that you don't want to be focused on. And so it's really important to think about, like, what are those systems, not just in your business, but in your life? And how can you make sure that you're freeing up your headspace, freeing up your mind to think about bigger things, bigger picture, the bigger vision for what you're trying to accomplish, instead of looking at all the minutia all the time and getting wrapped up in that and getting swamped by it.
Sometimes when people create systems, they create them 1 and 2, 3 times, and then that system breaks down, or they don't follow it, or they go back to their old way of doing things. And that's not what we're talking about here. So far we've talked about your mindset. We've talked about the lack of your clear vision or goals. We've talked about setting up systems for support. Number 4 is near and dear to my heart, and that is poor time management. Poor time management, because again, we've all got 168 hours a week to work with. Again, it's called the rule of 168. Now, we sleep for some of these hours, we eat, we pay the bills, we play with the kids, but do you really know where you're using your time effectively? Right? Because we are here to help you to do what Tony Robbins calls turning decades into days. And turning decades into days is absolutely working on the most important and urgent things and identifying that not all tasks are created equal.
It's really allocating your time to the things that you value the most. You know, I know for myself, it's energy management as well. It's like, I'm going to give my time and my energy to the things that are most important to me. And everything else is taken care of by my systems, by my people, by my staff. You know, I don't want my life to be consumed by minutia. I don't want my life to be consumed by distraction and the little things that don't allow me to experience the big things, or don't allow me to experience those magic moments with my family. And so, you know, time is really about valuing yourself. It's valuing what you need to get done, what other people can do to help you and support you in what you need to get done, and recognizing that, you know, time is, you know, in some ways it's an illusion, right? Like, you can stretch time, you can bend time, you can do so many things with time, but you've got to find a way to make it work for you and have time as your friend, not as your enemy. And I think that's something that everybody falls down with. It's like, we don't have enough time. I just had a conversation with a girlfriend, and she was talking about how she doesn't have enough time to accomplish this project. She wanted to write a book. And I said, okay, well, you've got time to watch TV. You've got time to sit on the phone with your friends for hours. You know, you've got time. Like, you've got to find out what's important to you. Is that book that you want to write, is that important to you? Because if it's important to you, then you're going to schedule the time to create it, to make it happen. And I think that's what we really need to come to terms with, is that time should be our friend, not our enemy. It should be something that we harness the power of, using time as art and creating art in every moment.
I love that. And again, I'll stack on that oftentimes when my clients come to me and they say, I don't have the time, I tell them it's not about the time, it's about a values decision, right? Because we place our time where, you know, we value certain things. So I think your examples of that are spot on. So well done. And that takes us to number 5. Again, these are all the reasons why you're failing to achieve your goals. And number 5 is the biggest one of all, and that is a lack of execution. A lack of execution, because again, we get rid of your limiting beliefs. We can write down the goals. We can create systems for support. We can optimize our time and our calendar and when we're going to do things. But if you're not out there taking what Lisa and I call intelligent and inspired action, you're fooling yourself. And I love intelligent and inspired, because intelligent means smart, whereas inspired means you don't have to, but you get to. And Lisa, you've written books, you've built businesses, you have children, you have so much going on. What is it about this topic that just allows you to continue to execute at such a high level?
I think an identity piece is important. It's something that you identify as, okay? So years ago, I had friends say to me, Lisa, you know, everything you set out to accomplish, you do. Everything you say you're going to do, you do. And I think that really stuck with me. And I think I realized that, you know, throughout my life, I really have accomplished most of the things I've set out to do. Now, sometimes it takes longer than I would think that it would, but the reality is, you've got to execute. You've got to be able to take action. You've got to take inspired action. Now, I'm not one to be working around the clock. I am out of the era of grinding. Okay. So I just don't grind anymore. It's not part of my makeup. I try to work as intelligently as I possibly can, but it's about moving things forward every single day. And I think it's important to recognize when you're just talking, right? So you can pick up the phone and say to a friend, I want to write a book, or I want to lose weight, or I want to do this. And then, somewhere down the road, you hear yourself saying the same thing to the same people, the same story, the same, I'm going to do this, I'm going to get to this. And you hear yourself talking ad nauseum about this thing that you said you were going to do and you never did. And I was laughing, telling my friend this the other day. I said, I'm tired of hearing myself talk about this. Like, I'm either going to do it or I'm just going to drop it. And so I think it's really important to realize that, to be real with ourselves. Where are we committing? Where are we interested in accomplishing something? Where are we committed to accomplishing something? And so it's really about getting yourself into momentum, getting yourself into action. But it's also about recognizing that if you're feeling drained, if you're feeling run down, if you're feeling burnt out, the last thing you want to do is keep loading yourself up with tasks. You've got to recognize that there's a time when you got to slow down. If you're feeling really tapped out, that is not the time to go and load up and start taking massive action. It just isn't. And persistence is one thing, and I think that's important as well. There's a character of persistence that's really important to accomplishing your goals, but you've got to recognize that you have a precious vehicle that you need to take care of, and your health needs to come first. And so, if you haven't achieved that goal, whatever that is, don't be hard on yourself. Like, give yourself permission to take a little bit of time out, and then you'll get back into that space of inspired action.
I love it. Yeah, we call that space for grace. Give yourself some space for grace, rest up, and then come back and get after it. Great share there, Leesa. Thank you. So let's go to number 6, because the 6th reason why people fail to scale or achieve their goals is they don't measure their progress, right? They don't ask, am I on track or am I off track? Am I heading closer to where I want to be, or am I moving further from it, or am I standing somewhere in the middle? And I think it's important because a lot of people in business will use things like KPIs or measurements. Those are key performance indicators. But really, where are you failing to measure your progress? Because I'm telling you, Tony Robbins says progress equals happiness. It's absolutely true. And that what gets measured gets managed, right? So we're measuring things all the time in our coaching business, in our consulting business, in our publishing company, what we're doing in finances, what we're doing with the children. And we love it because it's almost like keeping score. I mean, if you played sports, let's say you were going to play a football game or play golf or play basketball, and nobody kept score, how would you know who's winning and losing? How much fun would it be? And it might be okay for a while, but it gets pretty boring. So Leesa, you're so good, and we're good together at tracking things, measuring things, asking, is this working or is this not? Anything you want to stack on that before we go to number 7?
Well, I'd like to share something a little bit alternative and a different way of thinking about measuring as well. And this goes back to the whole concept of the gap and the gain. And I think it's really important to have time for introspection, to really reflect on your life. How far have you come? Because sometimes, again, when we don't achieve that goal, when we haven't really accomplished that thing we set out to, we can be hard on ourselves and we can feel deflated. But then when you look at the big picture and you look at how far you've come in your life, that is where the richness comes, and that's where the inspiration comes. And I just personally had that experience. I mean, going back to London, the place that I traveled when I was young, I told the story in a previous podcast where, I set out to travel the world when I was 18. I left my family and I said, I'm out of here. I'm going traveling. And that was a huge thing. And when I look back at the last 30 years of my life, I cannot even possibly comprehend the life that I'm living now. It's beyond my wildest dreams. So even now at this point, even though I have goals and I have future aspirations, I can always fall back on how far I've come. And that is a measurement that I can't put a price on. All I can say is that I am so proud and grateful of this life that I've created for myself. And so measurement is about looking at your life, looking at the big picture and saying, what is it that I've accomplished in this lifetime? What's my life been about? What's the theme? What have I done in my life? If you wrote down 100 things that you've done or accomplished in your life, you'd be surprised. I mean, you could stop crying about those goals that you never accomplished, because life has a way of magically creating moments and experiences and opportunities that we can't plan for when we're just doing traditional goal setting.
Yeah.
So I really encourage you, when it comes to measuring things, look back at your life. Look back at what you've accomplished. Look back at what you've accomplished in the last 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, 5 years. And you'll be surprised. I think you'll get a lot of inspiration out of that.
So powerful. Thank you for that. And that takes us to the final one, number 7, the 7 reasons why people fail to achieve their goals. And that is a lack of accountability. Now, as a high performance coach, I know a thing or two about accountability because I've done over 40,000 coaching sessions at this stage of the game. And yes, that's an actual statistic. And my clients tell me time and time again that without me holding their feet to the fire, without check-ins, without absolutely, a robust way of reporting to ensure that they're doing what they say they're going to do, they say they would have never achieved the phenomenal outcomes that they've achieved. And it's same for me. And that's why I don't have one coach. I have 2 coaches that kick my butt regularly and make sure that I'm holding my own feet to the fire. But Leesa, how important has it been for you to have somebody, whether it's a coach, a mentor, a friend, a partner, a husband, holding your feet to the fire? I mean, what does accountability mean for you?
Well, there's nothing like being in a marriage and being in a relationship with a high performance coach. I mean, that's it. Like, I can never hold myself to anything other than a higher standard, And so I think that's kind of it's interesting when I think about that. I think we've coached ourselves, each other along the way in a gentle way, in a way that we always hold each other to a higher standard. I think that's been great. And I ask that of my friendships as well. I have accountability in my friendships. I think a true definition of a friend is someone that holds you in your highest light, that sees you in your highest light, that supports you to continue to accomplish your goals and dreams, and really sees you as that person that can do that. And so I think that's really important, is having the right people that are in your life, that are in support of you and you're in support of them. And again, it goes back to coaches as well. I think without coaches and mentors, we really don't have that level of accountability and also vision for what's possible. When you see
Right.
what other people are accomplishing, when you've seen someone do something that, possibly you might have thought was impossible, and then you see them achieving it, it makes it possible for you. And so I think it's really, really important. So accountability on all fronts: friends, family, coaches, professional relationships. It's important to build that into your life. And even the same with exercise. If you really want to get exercise happening, hire a personal trainer. Like, it's not that hard. And so I think it's really important that we give ourselves permission to build this into our lives if we really want to go for that life that we really aspire to have, which is a life where we're unlocking our greatness and living our best life.
You bet. And there's a great quote that says success leaves clues. So ultimately, we know that these 7 steps are really the game changer that can allow anyone like you to start looking through them now and saying, all right, where am I strong and where do I perhaps have room for improvement? Because if we take a look at your mindset, if we take a look at you not setting the right goals or not creating a big enough vision, if we find out that it's, your lack of systems for support, or perhaps you're one of those people that needs to improve your time management, maybe you need to execute more, measure your progress more, or hold your feet to the fire or get somebody to help you. These are all things that will allow you to go to the stratosphere. And again, we're not just talking about little goals. We're talking about any goal. So really, as we get ready to recap that, again, if you really want to be successful, you've got to feed your mind. You've got to meditate or get clarity or get a vision, but really dream again about what's possible. Number 2, write your goals down. If there's one thing Leesa's always doing, and you always do this, you got a journal and a pen going at all times. Or if you don't have that handy, you're taking notes on your phone. But when you write it down, it becomes real. So that's what I highly recommend you do with number 2. With number 3, you don't need to create some big system. You need to start with the first couple things that will allow you to move forward. Because remember, taking 1 or 2 steps forward, it's like a staircase. You climb up the first 2 steps, and the system allows you to get to step 3, step 4, step 5, step 6, and so on. The next step is really, really all about time management. Don't fault yourself for where you procrastinate, or perhaps you don't achieve as much as you set out to do in a day. Give yourself some space for grace and ask yourself, if there was some place to improve, where is it? Is it getting up a little bit earlier? Is it getting rid of some of the, social media time? Is it maybe staying up a little bit later and, turning off the television and doing something that allows you to move forward? That's what we do, and that's what a lot of our clients do for success. Number 5 is that execution. Look at what's in front of you right now and really identify what are 1, 2, or 3 things that you can do this week to move yourself forward, and then write down how you're going to measure it, right? How you're going to measure it. That's step 6. And then step 7 is really who can you have hold your feet to the fire and keep you accountable. So Leesa, this is gold. I know that we share this with our clients all over the world. We often talk about this at our retreats all over the world. But is there anything else you want to talk about before we get to our 3 to Thrive?
I think the most important thing when it comes to goals is it in alignment with who you really are and what you really want and your dreams and just really challenge yourself to think about that. Do your goals support what you truly want out of life? Do your goals support your heart? Do they support your family life? Do they support your vision for the world, your vision for your business? And there's no harm in letting go. Let go of the things that don't serve you and step into a higher vision for what's truly possible. So I really encourage people to review, what is it that you're setting goals on? What are the goals that you're hanging on to that are no longer things that you're excited about, Just give yourself permission to change it up and step into a greater vision for what's really possible for yourself and for your life.
Fantastic. All right, well, let's go to our 3 to Thrive. And I'll kick it off with the first question, and that is, if you wrote down all 7 of those things, why people fail to achieve their goals, what are your top 1, 2, or 3? Don't look at all 7, but see if you can identify what is the number 1 thing that's preventing you, what might be number 2, and then if there is a third, what is that for you? And then figure out how to take that, intelligent, inspired action on the other side of that. Is that getting clarity? Is that using your calendar better? Is that finding a coach or a mentor? But really start with 3 things and watch the magic that happens from there. Leesa, I'll throw it over to you for number 2.
If you could be, do, or have anything, what would that be? And how can you turn that into a goal? How can you do that? I think some of us keep these wild ideas way out in the stratosphere. We never bring them down to earth. We never bring them down to something that we could actually accomplish. And so I really invite you today, think about it. What is it that you've always wanted to be, do, or have? And how can you turn that into a goal? Set that as a goal. Set it as an intention for what you want to do.
So good, so good. And I'll bring it home with number 3. And this is something I love doing with my clients. And it's really checking in with your identity. Are you speaking to these 7 things from your lower self? Or do you need to get out of your lower self and into your higher self? So if you're not familiar with that, your lower self is your average self, your, I'll do it tomorrow self, or it's not that important, or I'll do it when I'm older, versus your higher self that knows that life is short and that that whatever you put your mind to, you can achieve. So ask yourself this question: am I thinking about this from my lower self, or am I willing to step into my higher self to take things to a whole new level? And Leesa, I want to thank you because that is powerful. And I'm going to invite the listener to perhaps listen to this episode again, or share it with your spouse, share it with your coworkers, share it with somebody you love, because I'm telling you, the more people that follow these 7 steps, the better the world is. So with that said, Leesa,
Peace, love, and palm trees.
take care, everybody.